So, I want you to imagine blending this huge handful of raw spinach, some really tough kale, like a whole green apple.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and a generous scoop of that dark green spirulina powder into a massive jar.
That sounds pretty intense.
It is. You take a deep breath, you take this huge gulp, and, you immediately realize it tastes exactly like you're chewing on a lawnmower's grass clippings.
Gross.
Right. You can't even...
I mean, it sounds like a punishment,
hmm
which unfortunately is exactly how a lot of us view the whole concept of health.
Yeah.
We treat it like this biological experiment where the worse something tastes or the harder it is to do, the better it just must be for you.
We really do. We
Yeah.
have this strange kind of underlying assumption that true wellness requires, like, suffering.
Exactly.
But today, we're taking a deep dive into some source material that completely dismantles that idea. We're looking at this really relaxed, highly conversational guide to daily habits.
And what's really fascinating about this specific source is that it's actually designed for people who are learning English.
Yes, which, forces a really beautiful kind of clarity.
It really does. When you talk about health through the lens of accessible language, you have to just strip away all that intimidating medical jargon.
Right. No complicated science words.
Exactly. You're left with practical, everyday concepts that actually make a real difference for you.
So as we go through this today, we're going to take our time. We're keeping the language clear, very accessible, and not too fast.
Which makes it perfect for really soaking in the information.
Exactly. We're going to explore the simple habits that keep the body and mind running smoothly. And along the way, we'll unpack some incredibly useful English vocabulary that you can use to talk about your own well-being.
That sounds great.
So let's start with the most basic reality check. Because no matter how many gross green smoothies you force down, eventually your health is going to falter.
Yeah, the inevitable sick day.
Right. It happens to everyone. And the source introduces a very common, really descriptive English idiom for exactly this situation.
Feeling under the weather.
Feeling under the weather. I always picture someone standing under a rain cloud when I hear that.
That's a great visual, actually. But it just means you aren't feeling 100% well. You're experiencing symptoms.
Symptoms, right.
And symptoms is a foundational word here. It refers to the physical indicators that your body is fighting off some kind of infection.
Like a stuffy nose or scratchy throat.
Exactly. Or a rising temperature. These are basically your body's alarm bells.
And what I found so interesting in the source material is how different cultures respond to those alarm bells.
Oh, the remedies.
Yes, take the classic Western remedy, right? Chicken soup. The source mentions this grandmother who believed chicken soup was so incredibly powerful that, like, if you drank enough of it, it could literally fix a broken leg.
I mean, it's a wonderful exaggeration.
Definitely.
But it points to a universal truth about comfort. And the science actually backs up why chicken soup works for cold symptoms. It isn't magic, it's mechanics. Well, the heat of the broth helps clear nasal congestion, right? The salt helps you retain water for hydration.
Oh, that makes sense.
And the amino acids in the chicken actually help reduce inflammation in the respiratory system.
That is fascinating. But then the source contrasts that with a remedy I had honestly never considered before.
The Coca-Cola one.
Yes. Hot Coca-Cola boiled with fresh ginger.
It sounds so counterintuitive, doesn't it? Especially if you just associate soda with junk food.
Completely. I was like, wait, soda for a cold?
But look at the mechanics again. When you boil it, it becomes this warm, thick syrup that coats a sore throat.
Ah, okay.
The sugar provides an immediate source of easily digestible energy for when you have, like, zero appetite.
Right, because you never want to eat when you're sick.
Exactly. And the ginger contains a bioactive compound called gingerol, which is actually a potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory.
That makes total sense when you break it down like that.
Yeah.
For sore throat, the source also mentions the universal advice of warm water, honey, and lemon. Yeah, and it uses a really specific word to describe it. It says this mixture is soothing.
Soothing. That is a great word for you to practice. It means something that brings relief, something that calms irritation or pain. It's gentle.
But I have to admit something here. When it comes to being under the weather, I align perfectly with one of the speakers in the source material.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I am a terrible patient.
You try to push through it?
Always. When I feel those symptoms coming on, my instinct is to just fight them. I try to keep working, maybe take some medicine, and just power through.
Because resting feels unproductive.
Exactly. Staying in bed in the middle of a Tuesday just feels, I don't know, lazy. I feel like I'm doing nothing.
And that is a trap so many of us fall into.
Yeah.
We've been conditioned to view resting as this passive, lazy state.
Right.
But biologically speaking, recovering, which means to get better and return to normal, is an intensely active physical process.
Wait, active, even if I am literally just lying completely still under a blanket?
Completely active. Think about what is happening inside your body. When you have a virus, your immune system is mounting a massive counterattack.
Okay.
It's producing millions of white blood cells, and it's raising your core body temperature to just burn out the invader.
Right, the fever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that requires massive amounts of cellular energy.
So the body is essentially fighting a war.
Precisely. And if you get up, sit at your desk, and try to, write a complex report, you're forcing your body to divert that precious energy away from the immune system.
And sending it to my brain instead.
Or if you try to exercise, you're sending that energy to your muscles. Staying in bed is not a sign of weakness. It's a biological requirement to give your immune system the fuel it needs to win the fight.
Wow, that really reframes the entire concept of a sick day. You aren't doing nothing. Your body is doing everything.
Exactly.
So if resting is how we fix the body when it breaks down, what we put into the body on a normal day is how we prevent it from breaking down in the first place.
Right, which brings us to fuel. Diet.
And just saying the word diet usually makes people tense up.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we immediately think of restriction. We think of like plain boiled chicken breasts and steamed broccoli.
But the source material focuses on the concept of a balanced diet. It makes it really clear that being healthy doesn't mean living a miserable life with zero pizza or zero chocolate.
Which is such a relief.
Because strict prohibition simply does not work for human psychology. The real danger, as the text identifies, is not the occasional slice of pizza.
Right.
The real danger is mindless eating.
Mindless eating. Yeah, this is the classic scenario of sitting on the couch watching a movie and suddenly realizing your hand is scraping the bottom of an empty family-sized bag of potato chips.
And you don't even remember eating them.
Exactly. You're chewing and swallowing, but your mind is completely disconnected from the process.
And there is a fascinating biological consequence to this. Digestion doesn't just happen in the stomach, it actually starts in the brain.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's called the cephalic phase response.
So the brain has to know you're eating to digest properly.
It has to know you're eating to tell you to stop. When you chew your food and actually pay attention to the taste and the texture, your brain eventually triggers the release of leptin.
And that's the hormone that makes you feel full.
Exactly. But if your visual and auditory attention is completely hijacked by a screen, that signal gets scrambled.
Oh, wow.
You can consume 1,000 calories,
Right.
and your brain still thinks you're hungry because it wasn't paying attention to the food.
That is wild. The mouth is moving, but the brain is entirely elsewhere, so the off switch just never gets flipped.
Right.
And the source mentions trying to fix this by, switching out chips for healthy snacks like carrots.
Which is good advice, but
But let's be realistic, right? It's incredibly hard to get excited about a baby carrot when what your brain is screaming for is a chocolate chip cookie.
which is exactly why the balanced diet approach is so vital. If you completely forbid the cookie, your brain just fixates on it, which elevates your stress hormone.
Yeah, you just want it more.
But if you allow yourself a deliberate, mindful treat, eating the cookie slowly, without looking at your phone, you remove the anxiety around the food.
And you actually feel satisfied after just one.
Exactly.
So it's really about intention. And alongside food, there's the other crucial fuel, water. Staying hydrated.
Crucial.
We all know the standard advice to drink plenty of water, but actually remembering to do it throughout a busy day is like a totally different story.
Because relying on sheer willpower or memory to drink water almost always fails. It requires a system.
And the source material highlights a really clever system. The speaker talks about buying a massive water bottle.
Oh, the giant one.
Yeah, one that holds 2 full liters of water. They joked that carrying this thing into the office felt like carrying a small child.
It's a brilliant example of behavioral design, though. They created a physical anchor in their environment.
Yes. The psychology behind it is so interesting. Because the bottle is so heavy and cumbersome to carry around in your bag, you become motivated to drink the water simply to make the bag lighter.
It's so smart.
You're tricking yourself into staying hydrated by using your own desire for convenience.
You're leveraging friction. The annoyance of a heavy bag becomes the trigger for the healthy habit.
So we have the fuel sorted. A balanced diet, staying hydrated, but once we put that fuel into the system, we have to actually burn it. We have to move the machine.
Physical activity. And this is the section where a lot of people just completely surrender.
Yeah, the source talks about the universal guilt of the dusty gym membership card.
We all know it.
You buy it in January, you go maybe 3 times, and then it just sits in your wallet for the rest of the year.
Because we construct these massive barriers to entry for ourselves, we convince ourselves that exercise only counts if it involves an hour of heavy weightlifting.
Right, or running on a treadmill until we feel sick.
But the text clarifies that movement just means getting your heart rate up. That doesn't have to be a grueling workout at all.
It could be dancing in your kitchen while cooking dinner, or what the source calls brisk walking.
Brisk walking is a fantastic descriptive term. It implies purpose and energy.
You aren't just casually strolling.
Right, you're walking fast almost as if you're 5 minutes late for a meeting. It elevates the heart rate and gets the blood pumping without requiring any special equipment or gym clothes.
And we need that movement so desperately because modern life is incredibly sedentary.
Sedentary.
Yeah.
That is a highly important vocabulary word. It means spending a large amount of time seated with very little physical movement.
Sitting at a desk, sitting in a car, sitting on the couch.
Exactly.
To really visualize the danger of a sedentary lifestyle, the source uses a powerful metaphor. Think of your body as a car.
I love this analogy.
If you own a car, park it in a garage, and leave it there for 3 years without ever turning the key, what happens?
The machine degrades, the battery dies, the oil and fluids stagnate and turn to sludge, the tires go flat.
It falls apart.
A car is an engineered system designed for motion. When you deprive it of motion, it fails.
And our bodies are the exact same way. If we leave them parked in an office chair for years, the biological engine starts to seize up.
It is a one-to-one comparison. When you sit for hours, the synovial fluid that lubricates your joints dries up, making you stiff.
Ugh, I can feel that in my back right now.
Right. Blood pools in your lower legs instead of circulating efficiently. Your muscles, literally sensing that they aren't needed to support your weight, begin to atrophy.
Wow.
We have to take the car out for a drive, even if it's just a 15-minute brisk walk.
Now, for those who are physically trapped at a desk all day, the source offers a solution: desk yoga.
Yes.
But I have to push back on this a little bit.
Uh-oh.
If I start doing yoga poses, rolling my neck and twisting my spine in the middle of a crowded, open-plan office, my coworkers are going to think I'm losing my mind.
That is a fair concern. But desk yoga isn't about doing a downward dog on your keyboard.
Thank goodness.
It's about micro-movements.
Yeah.
It's subtle, intentional stretches you can do while just looking at your monitor.
Like what?
Doing simple isometric exercises, tensing your core, rolling your shoulders back to counteract the slump of looking at a screen, doing a seated spinal twist.
Okay, so just breaking up the physical stagnation.
Exactly. No one even has to know you're doing it.
Okay, that is much more realistic. So we're fueling the body, and we're moving the machine to keep the fluids running.
Right.
But here's where we have to look at the other half of the equation. You can eat a perfectly balanced diet, you can take a brisk walk every day, but if your internal environment, your mind is constantly racing, your body is still going to suffer.
Physical movement has to be paired with mental stillness. This is a crucial point in the source material. Mental health is not separate from physical health.
They're completely tied together.
Entirely intertwined. The brain controls the body.
And the main enemy the source identifies here is stress. Specifically, that intense feeling of being completely overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. That very visceral word. It means having too many things to handle at once, to the point where you feel like you're drowning.
Your mental processing power is just maxed out.
And you don't know where to start.
When you hit that overwhelmed state, your heart beats faster, your chest feels tight, and the source provides a really practical tool to combat this in real time.
Deep breathing.
Specifically, a technique where you breathe in slowly for 4 seconds, hold it, and then breathe out slowly for 4 seconds.
And there is profound biology behind that 4-second breath.
Really? Just breathing.
Yes. When you're overwhelmed by a deadline or an argument, your brain's amygdala triggers a fight-or-flight response. It dumps cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream, preparing you to run away from a physical predator.
Even though the predator is just like an email from your boss.
Exactly. Your body doesn't know the difference, but your breathing rate is tied to your vagus nerve, which runs from your brain down to your abdomen.
Okay.
By taking slow, deliberate 4-second breaths, you're engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. You're manually pressing the brake pedal.
Yeah.
You're sending a chemical signal back to your brain saying the environment is safe There's no predator. You can power down.
It's a literal reset button for your nervous system.
It really is.
And to prevent that overwhelmed feeling from building up in the first place, the text discusses the concept of unplugging, taking a digital detox.
A digital detox, intentionally carving out time, maybe just 30 minutes, with no phone, no emails, no news, and crucially, no social media.
Because social media is such a massive driver of modern stress, the text points out how it forces us to compare our real, messy, chaotic lives to other people's perfect photos.
But the source reminds us of something so important. A photo is just a single curated second in time.
It's a heavily filtered highlight reel.
Exactly. It doesn't show the stressful morning, the argument they had right before taking the photo, or the messy kitchen just outside the frame.
Right.
Comparing your raw, unfiltered reality to someone else's curated illusion is just a guaranteed recipe for anxiety.
Which leads to a question that the source brought up, and it really stuck with me. Why are we so incredibly mean to ourselves?
We really are.
If a friend makes a mistake, or if a friend is exhausted, we're gentle with them. We tell them to take a break. But when we are tired or make a mistake, our internal monologue is ruthless. We call ourselves stupid or lazy.
We are our own harshest critics.
The source champions this idea of self-forgiveness. If you need a nap, take a nap. We have to start talking to ourselves internally the exact same way we would talk out loud to a good friend.
Being kind to yourself is a fundamental pillar of mental health.
It really is. And if we look at everything we've discussed, the balanced diet, the brisk walking, the stress reduction, the deep breathing, how do we lock all of those benefits in?
It all converges in the ultimate biological foundation, which is sleep.
Sleep. The text jokes that if sleeping were a professional sport, some people would win a gold medal easily.
Definitely.
But for many, it's a nightly battle. The source uses the term insomnia, which means the chronic trouble of falling asleep or staying asleep.
And what is the primary modern enemy of sleep? It's exactly what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Screens. Screen time.
Staring at phones or tablets right up until the minute we close our eyes. The source explains that the blue light emitted from these screens actively keeps the brain awake.
And to understand why, you really have to look at evolutionary biology. For thousands of years, the only source of blue light was the morning sun.
Oh, that makes sense.
So when your eyes process blue light from a phone screen, it hits receptors that send a message directly to your pineal gland. It basically tricks your biological clock into thinking the sun is literally rising.
So your brain thinks it's morning even though it's like 11:00 p.m.
Precisely. And in response, your brain violently halts the production of melatonin, which is the hormone that makes you feel sleepy. You are chemically forcing yourself to stay awake.
So to combat this, the text outlines a very specific bedtime routine. And the first step is putting the phone away an hour before bed and picking up a paper book, a real physical book with actual pages.
Because the tactile experience of holding a paper book is entirely different from holding a screen. The light reflects off the page rather than shining directly into your eyes, allowing your nervous system to start relaxing.
The routine continues with drinking a warm caffeine-free tea like chamomile to physically calm the body.
Nice and soothing.
Exactly. And then, adjusting the environment, the source specifies making sure your bedroom is pitch black.
Pitch black. That's a great descriptive phrase, meaning completely, entirely dark with no ambient light whatsoever.
No streetlights coming through the window.
No glowing LEDs from chargers. Total darkness is critical because even a small amount of light can disrupt the deep sleep cycles where your body actually performs its cellular repair.
But the most impactful part of this bedtime routine, in my opinion, is how it addresses the mind. Instead of lying in the dark, staring at the ceiling, and stressing over tomorrow's to-do list, the speaker in the source uses a journal.
Ah, the gratitude journal.
Yes. They write down 3 things from the day that they are grateful for.
Grateful, meaning feeling thankful for the good things in your life. And what's fascinating here is the psychological shift this creates. A to-do list focuses your brain on scarcity.
On what's missing.
Right. It focuses on what is lacking, what still needs to be done, what problems need to be solved. It creates tension and keeps you in that threat state we talked about earlier.
But writing down what you're grateful for shifts your brain to focus on abundance. It forces you to acknowledge what went right.
Ending your day with positive reflection calms the nervous system down. It's the ultimate bridge between mental stillness and physical rest.
It perfectly ties everything together. Okay, we have covered an incredible amount of ground today. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick review of the key English vocabulary we unpacked from the source so you can start using it in your daily life.
Let's do it.
First, when you're feeling a little bit sick with symptoms, you are feeling under the weather.
Right.
When you drink warm honey and lemon for a sore throat, you are finding something soothing. Instead of restricting all your favorite foods, you want to aim for a balanced diet.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you move your body and avoid being sedentary, like a car left parked in a garage.
A very important one.
When stress builds up and your heart races, use deep breathing to manage feeling overwhelmed.
Essential.
And finally, right before bed, shift your focus to the things you are grateful for.
Those are 6 really powerful phrases that will significantly elevate how you talk about your daily routines and how you understand your own health.
And that brings us to the call to action from our source material. We want to pass the challenge on to you. What is one small thing you do every day to stay healthy?
Is it using behavioral design to carry a heavy water bottle?
Taking a brisk walk. We highly encourage you to practice your English by writing it down or sharing it with a friend.
But as you consider your own daily habits, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder, something that wasn't explicitly stated in the text, but builds directly upon the mechanisms we've discussed today.
I'd love to hear it.
We talked about how our bodies are like cars that break down when left parked. We talked about how our minds desperately need a digital detox to find peace.
Right.
When we look at all of this together, perhaps true daily health isn't about adding more things to our already exhausting schedules.
Oh, interesting.
It isn't about adding complex, grueling gym routines or forcing down gross green smoothies. Perhaps true health is actually about subtracting the unnatural things.
Like what?
Subtracting the mindless scrolling that blocks our satiety hormones. Subtracting the endless, overwhelming stress. Subtracting the artificial blue light at midnight.
Wow.
So, as you go about your day-to-day, ask yourself, what is one unnatural thing you can subtract from your life right now to give your body and mind the space to just naturally be healthy?